There is a strange physics to money that they never teach you in school. We tend to think of wealth as a linear climb, like walking up a very long flight of stairs, where every step is exactly the same height. You save $1, you have $1.
And you repeat that until you retire or die, whichever comes first.
But if you have been in the game for a while, you know that is simply not true. Money does not move in straight lines. It moves in phases, in jumps, and sometimes in complete psychological shifts that change who you are. I have spent a lot of time looking at spreadsheets. And I have spent even more time talking to people who are stressed out about them. What I have realized is that the journey to financial independence isn't one long road. It is actually 3 distinct different worlds, separated by massive invisible walls. We are going to talk about the 3 specific net worth milestones that change everything. And before we dive in, let's make sure we are using the same definition for net worth. Because people like to cheat on this one. Net worth is what you own minus what you owe. It is your assets minus your liabilities. It is not your salary, and it is definitely not the credit limit on your Visa card. It is the cold, hard number that remains if you sold everything you owned and paid off every debt you had today. I want to walk through the 3 major thresholds. The first $100,000, the 1,000,000 mark. And the leap into multi-millionaire status. Each of these levels requires a completely different strategy, a different mindset, and frankly, a different version of you. It is like leveling up in a video game where the rules change completely. Ah! Just when you think you have mastered them.
So if you are feeling stuck at one level, or you are just curious about what the view looks like from the next peak, stick around.
The reason we focus on these specific numbers isn't because they are round and look nice on a banking app. Although that is certainly a bonus. It is because these are the points where the math of your life fundamentally shifts. At one stage, your effort matters more than your capital. At another, your capital starts to earn more than your labor. And eventually, you reach a point where the biggest risk isn't running out of money. But running out of purpose. We are going to treat this like a roadmap. I want to dissect the trap that exists at each level, because there is always a trap. There is always that one mistake that sends people sliding back down the mountain. Just when they thought they were safe. We will look at the opportunities that unlock, the specific risks you need to guard against, and the mental shift required to graduate to the next level. Whether you are currently staring at a negative sign in your bank account, or you are trying to figure out estate planning for your grandkids, the principles of momentum remain the same. And hey, while we are setting the stage here, do me a favor and treat this video like a bit of a workshop. Wow. I want you to think about which stage you are currently wrestling with. Is it the grind, the accumulation, or the preservation? Because knowing where you are on the map is half the battle. Let's start with the hardest milestone you will ever hit. It is the one that makes everyone want to quit. And it is the one that matters the most. Let's talk about the first 100,000. The legendary investor Charlie Munger once said that the first $100,000 is a female dog.
Though he used a more colorful word than that.
He was right. The first $100,000 is the hardest money you will ever accumulate, and it is not even close. The reason it is so difficult is purely mathematical. When you are starting from zero, or worse, starting from a negative net worth because of student loans or credit card debt, you have zero momentum. You are pushing a boulder uphill, and gravity is working entirely against you. At this stage, compound interest, that magical force everyone loves to talk about, is basically asleep at the wheel.
It is not helping you yet.
If you have $5,000 invested, and the market has a great year and goes up 10%, you made $500. That is nice, but it is not changing your life. That is barely a weekend getaway.
This means that 99% of the progress from 0 to 100,000 comes from your own sweat, your own labor, and your own.
You cannot invest your way out of this phase. You have to earn and save your way out of it. This is where most people give up, because it feels like you are throwing buckets of water into the ocean and nothing is changing. You scrimp, you save, you skip the expensive lattes. And at the end of the year, the needle has barely moved. It can feel incredibly demoralizing. But here is the secret that keeps you going.
You are not just building a bank balance in this phase.
You are building the machine that will eventually build the wealth for you.
You are establishing the habits, the discipline, and the systems that will handle the millions later on. This is the moment the boulder crests the hill. Once you have $100,000 invested, a 10% market return is $10,000. Now we are talking about real money. That is a used car. That is a phenomenal vacation. That is a significant chunk of a down payment. Suddenly, your money is working almost as hard as a part-time employee. You have effectively hired a robotic version of yourself that goes to work every day to earn money for you.
And it never calls in sick.
This is the psychological shift. When you see your portfolio jump up by a few $1,000s in a single day, just because the market had a good Tuesday, something clicks in your brain. You realize that wealth is possible. The despair of the early grind gives way to a kind of addictive confidence. You want to feed the machine more because you can finally see it working. But getting there requires a specific set of behaviors. This phase is all about the gap between your income and your expenses. It is not about picking the perfect stock or timing the crypto market. It is about aggressive savings rates. It is about keeping your housing costs low. Maybe driving a car that is a little older than you would like. And avoiding the trap of upgrading your lifestyle every time you get a raise. If you live in a high-cost area like New York or London, this is harder, no doubt. 100,000 might just be a safety deposit on a studio apartment. But the principle is the same. It is about reaching escape velocity. Until you hit this number, you are fighting gravity. After this number, you start to float. There is a specific danger zone that opens up right after you hit your first big milestone. I call it the sophomore slump of finance. You have 100 grand in the bank, you feel rich, and you let your guard down. You start thinking, hey, I have been so good for so long, I deserve a treat. Maybe I should lease that luxury SUV. Maybe I should move into the luxury apartment complex with the gym I will never use. Only a narrator speaks and lip syncs. All other characters keep their mouths closed. Says this is lifestyle. The moment you increase your spending to match your new net worth, you kill the momentum you just spent years building. You are taking the fuel out of the rocket engine right as it is trying to leave the atmosphere. The other risk here is becoming overconfident in your investing skills. When you have a little bit of money, the temptation to gamble it on speculative assets skyrockets. You think you have a cushion, so you throw $10,000 at a meme stock or a friend's business idea that has no business plan. You have to remember that your first 100,000 is your foundation. It is not play money yet. It is the concrete slab that the rest of your skyscraper is going to stand on. If you crack the foundation now, the whole thing gets shaky later. So, the strategy for this phase is boring but essential.
Defend that first 100,000 with your life.
Keep your savings rate high, keep your expenses low, and let compound interest finally start doing the heavy lifting. You have done the hard part. Do not mess it up by getting impatient. Now let's fast forward.
You have stayed the course, you let the snowball roll, and you hit the big one.
2 commas, $1 million. This is the number that everyone dreams about. It is the cultural shorthand for, I have made it. But here is the twist that surprises almost everyone when they actually get there. It does not feel like you thought it would. You do not suddenly feel like Monopoly Man. You do not wake up and buy a yacht.
In fact, if you are living in a major city like Los Angeles or Sydney, $1 million net worth might just mean you own a regular 3-bedroom.
You are still going to work. You are still checking prices at the grocery store. But while the lifestyle might not look like a rap video, the psychological security is profound.
At $1 million, you have shifted from survival mode to security mode.
You are no longer working because you are terrified of starving.
Aneda. You are working because you are building something.
This is the point where you can walk into your boss's office and negotiate without fear. Because you know that if they fire you, you will be fine for a very, very long time.
It is the ultimate career insurance.
This is also where the math goes absolutely bonkers. A 10% return on $1 million is $100,000.
For many people, that is more than their annual salary.
Think about that for a second. Your money is now earning more than you are. You have effectively cloned yourself economically. This is the crossover point, where you transition from being a saver to being an investor. Your personal savings rate matters less now. If you save an extra $5,000 a year, it barely registers against the market swings of $1 million portfolio. The strategy at the $1 million mark has to change completely.